coordination, because maybe the tax official could live in a situation where they do not have the connection with the other government actors, where they are able to get the information required on time in order to ask the taxpayers to make the timely tax payment. But this situation is changing now. The government is connected, the government is doing one, and we are able to get the information. The exchange of information is quite faster now. And so it will be very difficult for any taxpayer to default again, and you leave the country with that money. So we are reminding you that before we can assess you, it is imperative that you do your own assessment and declare the taxes in timely manner. According to the tax law, most of the major of the taxpayers in South Sudan are liable, number one, for business property tax. This is done on an annual basis. There is no urgency if you have not filed the return up to the 15th of last month. You could file the returns by law up to the 31st of March 2022 for the year 2021. So there is no urgency. Although we have split it into 4, where the taxpayer could maybe pay per quarter, so that we relieve you of a burden, so that by the end of the year, you do not have a lot to pay. But if you believe that there is no need for you to make a quarterly payment, we will not compel you for now. Okay, we would allow you, but ensure you pay correctly. In due dates, which will be on the 1st of April of the year 2022 for the year 2021. This is for business property tax. But the other 3 types of taxes, which is the withholding tax, the withholding have about 5 or 6 components, and then the excise tax and the sales tax are all due 15 of the next month throughout the year. And we are asking the taxpayers to ensure that they comply by filing their return on the 15th of the next month to avoid the approval of penalties. We could see that majority of the taxpayers have not been able to comply timely, and this has resulted to accumulation of arrears. This has been resulted to a lot of penalties. Penalties of late payment, penalties of the late filing of the return, penalties of interest. This has been accruing over time, and you would see from time to time the taxpayers are coming to us asking for the waiver of the same. We will no longer be waiving unless there is a valid reason that is compelling this office to do the waivers. So we are asking you that you do the timely tax payment. The same Taxation Act 2009, section number 46, 43 and 46 are 2 specifics. If you do not pay the taxes on time, we will assess you and we will enforce collections. There are a number of activities we have already embarked on. These have never been happening, but we have already started. This is within the law. We will be able to do the assessment. We give you a number of notices. If you fail to comply with what we have assessed, we will enforce the collection. Enforced collections are of 2 ways. We can either detain the money you have in the account, and we have done this to a number of taxpayers already. We will not be able here in this briefing to mention the detail of those taxpayers, but that is what is happening already. We have blocked, we have put a cap into that account. We have locked those accounts. We have put a limit, and we have asked the banks to transfer the same to the Revenue Authority account, the Bank of South Sudan, either in the Bank of South Sudan or at the commercial banks. You would be able to do this. If a taxpayer is lacking money in those accounts, the next thing we are moving on, and there are 2 already, maybe the public will be informed maybe in the next few days, we are seizing the properties of those taxpayers, and we will put them on a public auctions. So we do not want it to get into that situation. It is better you comply now and you do the needful. Because if you don't, we are actually more than serious now. We will be able to detain, take over your properties. We will ask you politely to leave those buildings, and then we will be able to do a public auctioning for the same amount that we require from that particular taxpayer. If maybe the building could be more, and that is by the law, section number 46, if the proceeds of the sale could be more, we will take some and we'll give you your balance. So we are asking the taxpayer that you should not let us get into that situation. There are some that we have frozen their account in the last few days, and we could see them coming back to us to bargain. This is no longer a time of bargaining. Once we have put a limit onto your account, there is no more bargaining. So this is the time, if you think there are reasons that has made you to delay all this while to not pay taxes, once you receive the assessment document from the domestic tax, of the National Revenue Authority, ensure that you urgently abide yourself, negotiate your way out. If there are genuine reasons why we should be able to waive some of the penalties, we can do. But if there are no genuine reasons, you will only be asked to comply by making sure that you pay. Maybe at this point, during the negotiation process, we could give you some time to pay. Maybe we could give you some installment. You could be able to pay even within a period of 6 months. That is within the law also. We will do what the law says. If you negotiate your way, we can maybe give you a breakdown that you pay this within 6 months. That means you will have some relief. But if we seize your properties and we put a lens into your bank account, we will no longer negotiate. And so if there are some who are considering doing so, please do not do so anymore. Proceed and make the payment. So this is the reason why we have called the media today to brief the nations, and we ask the taxpayers to ensure they comply with the tax payment. So this is, and we are asking the media to help us pass the message. We are calling everybody. There are many people who do not want to pay tax. They like defaulting. But the situation has changed now. If you do not want to pay per the Taxation Act procedures of South Sudan, we will be able to make you pay. We will get there and we will make you pay. So it is better you comply within the shortest time possible. Yes.
Honorable, you did mention that some businesses who are not respecting tax law, you fail to identify and you have say that you have to keep the name confidential. But can you tell us the kind of businesses that are now not paying government taxes? Can you also tell us how long? Maybe there's 1 year or within the time frame that may force you now to have those penalties and even confiscate business premises and auction them out. Wanted to know how much is that you are demanding according to your assessment?
So far we have served some notices and maybe to a tune of 10 billion to about 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 companies. Maybe to a tune of 10 billion South Sudanese pounds. These are from different sectors. Some of them are constructions, some of them are general tradings, some of them are airlines. Okay? The rest of the details rest with the National Revenue Authority. Okay? For confidentiality purposes. We will not be able to disclose to you.
Okay. Many foreign companies here, many foreign business, they found South Sudan is a easy fruit and they get rich from South Sudan. In the time there is no good health, good education, service from the government because no money. So how you see this, what you are doing can improve the situation and the life of the South Sudanese citizen?
Okay, number one, we do not call it a foreign, we don't call them foreign companies. We call them multinational companies. So this is the language we use at the domestic tax. These are multinational because they have operations in more than 1 or 2, 3, 4 regions. And this is why we call them multinational companies. But otherwise, these are the taxpayers that we have in South Sudan. We own it and we respect our taxpayers because for me as a taxman, I would not be called a tax person if there are no taxpayers. So you are the taxpayers, and so we respected you. And we also know that previously the government of South Sudan have taken, had been passing, it has passed. We had been passing maybe the rapid, these, I would call them the maximum compliance. We have not been, although the law has been there from 2009, we have not been able to enforce the tax collection, maybe for some reason. Reason number one, maybe we wanted the taxpayers, majority of them, to find times and do business in South Sudan, which has been happening. Although the crisis has been destabilizing some of these, majority of these taxpayers have been getting huge profit. We all know. Although they have been talking that South Sudan is not the best place to do business, this is the best place to do business because somebody is able to raise a quick return of investment in a very short period of time. You cannot do this in the United States. But the quick returns they are now getting in South Sudan is quite huge because we are able to see their financial records. We are knowledgeable. There are we understand these are the questions that you ask of the lacking in the education and the health sectors. This could be answered maybe in a different forum. We only collect taxes. Maybe you can ask the institutions like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance, and they would be able to respond to those other questions.
No, I mean this tax can help to government to give service to people, free service.
Yes, apparently, we are asking the taxpayers to continue to pay their taxes so that we reduce the number of negative impacts in the country. Because when you do not pay taxes, the government is not able to deliver on the health. The government is not able to deliver on the education. The government is not able to give you clean water. And the government is not able to pay the salaries, even of the organized forces. What happened then? The repercussion is that you would find somebody with a gun can be restless. And the next thing he can use the guns so that he have to live because he cannot die with a gun. Now who have caused the insecurity? It is you, the taxpayer, who did not pay that have caused the insecurity. So we are saying you pay your taxes to enable the government to timely deliver the services that you need.
I just want one question.
Just let this way.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. My question is not much far from him. You said there are some accounts which have been locked. I would like you also to tell us how many accounts have been locked. Secondly, you are talking about companies which are big. Could you tell us, is this particular program going to target also the small businesses? Is there a way the government is trying to help the beginners? And then lastly, maybe there are companies which have been given tax exemption by the government. I don't know how many do we have companies which have been tax exempted. Are they also part of this?
Number one, maybe we have put a limit for about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is within the range of 10 companies. So we have put a limit into those accounts. Number two, these are the questions. We may not be able to tell you the specific names of those companies. And as I said earlier, that's fine. The information has gone. This is what we wanted, to deliver the information to the taxpayers in general. But we will not be able to give you the specific name and the details. Those are the minute details might not be disclosed now. We will keep them for another time. But this, we have so far seized within a range of 10 companies. Their identity remain known to the National Revenue Authority. But as a media, you give a general awareness to the taxpayers to ensure the timely comply.
How about the beginners?
The beginners, the government have already done enough by providing a smaller rates to the small companies. People are not taxed the same. There are different rates for different people. For example, if you are a small company, you are only liable to pay at a range of 10%. If you are a medium company, that is a bit you are raised, you pay at a range of 15%. And if you are a large company, you pay up to maximum 30%. So you have seen the categories. That means already the small companies have been helped. But also at the starting, if you have made a loss, and these are justified loss, the government is able to give you up to 5 years to recover those losses. So this is within the law. So these are some of the privileges the government have so far given. There are the exemptions, those that are exempted are what are required to be exempted by internationals, bilateral agreements, the international treaties. These are requirements across the globe, even in the United States. Like, for example, the embassies, when you see them here, they don't pay taxes because these are the foreign countries in our country. They don't pay taxes. Their diplomats do not pay. They are exempted. Even our own diplomat, wherever they could be, they are exempted. So these are some sort of exemption, and maybe like the United Nations, they are exempted. These are some sort of the agreement that we have. We have curtailed for the directive of the presidents in a cabinet in 2019. We have carved this idea of the exemption, so there is not so much exemption now. The exemption are specifically only granted to like the UNs and maybe the embassies who are importing some of the basic items that they could use. but the exemption has been cut. Yes, and maybe for humanitarian purposes.
Yeah, I have like one or two questions. First, I need to understand, my colleague asked a question and it's like you have not answered him. The time frame that you people have now reached that decision of locking the accounts of those companies, how long has it taken? That is one. Secondly, also my colleague Dennis was asking the number of companies that were exempted, not necessarily their names. You could also help there. And then my last question is, can you tell us clearly which law mandates the NRA and which article exactly that gives you the powers to enforce those measures on the companies that did not comply?
To answer your last question, Section number 43 of the Taxation Act 2009 and Section number 46. Section number 43 asks you to comply. And if you do not comply, you are warned that we will be able to lock down your accounts. And Section number 46 is asking the third parties that with the properties of X that you have, surrender it to me. So these are the sections that are giving us this. Section number 43, we are able to lock your account. The law have said so. We are able to take over your properties. The law have said so. Section number 46, maybe it is in the custody of somebody, like for example the bank. Bank is a third party who is now holding your properties. You are Mr. X and this is Mr. Y. So we ask the Y to surrender to us directly without dealing with you. This is the law that is giving us Section 43 and Section 46 of the Taxation Act 2009. We have started this like a month ago, but because there has been no enforcement of this kind, it was like a new thing to the bank. So the bank have to sit back and ask their legal team to study. But we are grateful to announce that they have come back to us like within this week, informing us that they have now understood this is within the context of the law and they are moving on by crediting our accounts. How many companies? Maybe within a range of tens. Which the name, this remain as our for privacy purposes. Per the law. The law did not allow us to disclose this to you. Maybe in the long run we will be able to do so, but for now we are saying we are acting within the law.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, like, I have like one or two. We'll start with the time frame. And this time is going to be for the companies that have been defaulted. Do you have a time frame for such companies to pay their taxes before any possible action can be taken, be it imposition or collection?
For other type of taxes, the time frame is 15th of the next month. That means if you have gone in the second month, you have defaulted, and we shall be able to follow you. For business profit tax, it is annual, so it is by the end of the year. It is per Section 84 of the Taxation Act 2009 as amended. The law says clearly that we give you 12 months to do your business, assess yourself by the end of the 12 months, see how much was your profits, and pay taxes for that profit only. The other expenses, you cover them, and then you do your own assessment, you see how much you have remained, you apply the correct rates, which is applying to you for your tax bracket, and then make the tax payment within the year. If you haven't done so, we shall follow you. That means from 2021, for 2021 financial year, by 31st of March 2022, we will still give you time to file the returns. If you have not filed the return by the 1st of April 2022, we shall follow you on the 2nd of April 2022, and that will come with penalties of different kind.
Okay. Second question.
Yes.
The second question is about the negotiation. You said there is a possibility for businesses to negotiate, but you have not mentioned those possibilities.
The possibilities of negotiation, when you come to us, before we seize your properties, we can negotiate. There are two items we can negotiate. Item number one, maybe the circumstances that made you to default in paying the taxes was beyond your control. This is what the law says. If it is beyond your control, we would be able to waive the penalties, but you can pay the tax. What is this beyond the control of the taxpayer? Assume the taxpayer was in an area where there is a crisis, where there is war, and we know there has been crisis in the country until 2018 peace agreement. So this crisis might have caused the taxpayer to plead for his life. If he have run out of the country for his life and he have returned now, it means he had a genuine reason why he was not able to pay taxes. But he have to prove to us that he was not in And that's why he was not able to file the return and make the tax payment. This is the reason that will lead us to negotiate. If we have known this is the valid reason, we would be able to give you a tax waiver. The Taxation Act have also given us on equal note to waive the penalties up to a tune of 75%. We can waive those penalties, but you can be able to pay the principal tax plus the interest, which is about 25%. So you will pay the principal plus the 25% because 75% shall have been waived. So this is the number one reason why you would maybe negotiate with us. The second reason is, for example, maybe you have agreed that it is you who have defaulted. There were no reason that you could justify your delay. Now what would happen in this case is that you are saying, okay, I do not have enough now to make the payment. Or what is required, let's say it was 2,000, but you cannot pay the 2,000 now. The law says we give you up to a maximum of 6 months in installment. So we can sign a contract with you. You pay each month, you pay an amount. So these are the two reasons why you will need to negotiate. But once you have gone out of this, there is no more negotiation, no room for negotiation, but you are able to pay. Because you had failed. Remember, when we put a lien to taxpayer account or when we take their properties, there are several warnings which had already been served. Over 4 warning. First notice, the second notice, the reminder, and the final warning. And then we come in with the enforcement. Once you had failed to follow those steps, because in those warnings, we are reminding you, this is what will happen to you if you don't comply. So if you are getting our fresh warning, just comply with it. But once you had failed to do so, we may not be able to negotiate at the end of the 4 warning.
Okay, I have basically 2 questions. One is on the effectiveness of your online system. How efficient is it? And what are some of the challenges that taxpayers face regarding complying with the tax obligations online? The second question is, in the range of 10 companies that you say that you've held back their bank account, how much do they own NRA?
Said earlier, only for those 10 companies. And we have over 400,
about
500, about 10 billion South Sudanese power. Okay. This is big money to run the hospital, maybe for the entire 6 months or 1 year. This could be a budget. So you see, there is more that can be paid. Now, the online tax payment is very efficient because number one, you do not need to walk to our offices again. You could be able to do your transactions at the comfort of your office. So you don't need to come here. We are creating an online so that you are able to monitor what is happening. You get the message in real time. And we are also able to see what has come in. The government is able to monitor all the account and see how much they have got. And maybe they could be able to make use of that money, make use of the money in real time. Not like when we have to wait, somebody have to go to the bank, see how much we have. Now we are able to see, we are able to monitor in our offices, we see, okay, some money have just trickled in. Like now, if I were back in the office, I would be able to see, okay, this much have come in. Maybe the government can decide from there. So it is quick. But the challenge is, of course, everything have got its own challenges. You will see that the basic infrastructure that necessitates the digitalizations are not in the country. Maybe we could have few of them in Juba, but Juba is not South Sudan. South Sudan's about 90% of the country population do not still have the power. So we will continue to collect more money in order to ensure the government expands the connectivity in terms of electricity across the country so that you are able to file your returns in the outskirts of South Sudan. The other issue is also the internet, which is being addressed. We are seeing the fiber internet is coming in. You will see now Juba is fully covered and they are moving. The NCA is doing its best to connect the country through the internet. And I think the fiber network is going to WOW, it is on the way to Bintu, and some will go to board. So maybe in the next few months, you will be able to see a country fully covered. And also the telecom communication, like the MTNs, the Zen are also providing the connectivity with their internet. Okay, so these are some of the challenges which are lacking in the outskirts of town. But we continue to collect more to enable the government to expand these services.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.